Two more attorneys general are turning their sights on the sex abuse crisis in the church. Karl Racine, the Attorney General for Washington, D.C., announced this week that his office will open an investigation into the Archdiocese of Washington. The Archdiocese has been shaken recently by a pair of high-profile abuse scandals that led to the resignation of former D.C. Archbishop Theodore McCarrick and the recent resignation of Cardinal Donald Wuerl. The D.C. Attorney General does not handle criminal felonies, however. It can enforce Washington's laws governing nonprofit organizations. Meanwhile, Virginia Attorney General Mark Herring said Wednesday that his office is looking into whether abuse took place in the Commonwealth and whether any church officials may have covered up or abetted any such crimes. The Attorney General has set up a hotline and an online page for victims to report abuse. Here with analysis and her insights on these investigations of sex abuse by clergy springing up all over the country, I'm joined in studio by Illinois Supreme Court Justice and a former member of the U.S. Bishops' National Review Board, Anne Burke. Judge,
hello,
great
Raymond.
to see you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Now, we are the tally is up to 15 states across the country now probing, and the feds are getting involved. What does this mean? And are you still supportive of these secular authorities coming in and opening up the files, doing their investigations?
Well, I am supportive of the secular agencies coming in and looking at the files, because I think what we see here is a pattern of perhaps all the files were not given to us, which we already know. 15 years ago, they were secret files. And I understand that even Buffalo is being looked at now for files that they might not have turned over or even posted about different priests that they had known were abusing and didn't post their names properly or when they should have. So they're still out there.
Now, federal subpoenas have been issued in certain localities, including Pennsylvania. What does federal scrutiny mean as opposed to the state AG looking into this? How difficult and tense is this going to get for these dioceses?
Well, I think what it signals is that it's not going to be a particular decision by a particular state's attorney or district attorney, which covers a small geographic area. What I think it signals is that it's an enterprise of some sort. It's something that is happening throughout the United States, and they're looking at all the bishops, they're looking at all the cardinals and all the dioceses and eparchies in the United States who agreed under the charter 15 years ago to make sure that there was going to be transparency in their going through any accusations, new accusations, but also posting those offenders that they already knew about.
So if a RICO statute is invoked, the racketeering statute, which was originally created for the mob, if that is invoked here, the charter could be the glue that ties the bishops together in their conference as well.
It appears that could be a civil RICO kind of a lawsuit. I'm not sure what's in the minds of the federal government doing this, but it seems clear that it's like a drip of a faucet. It's dripping, and the only way you can do it is to make sure that that every diocese is disclosing their files openly.
You and Bob Bennett, Leon Panetta, other members of that original National Review Board went to the bishops and said, look, we're willing to be an independent investigatory task force, if you will, when this first broke. If they had taken you up on the offer, do you think they'd be where they are today?
I think we'd be looking at it differently, absolutely. I think I know what we would have recommended, and that is talk to every bishop and every cardinal and say, you post everything right now. You're confidential, you're restricted, or secret files, whatever you want to call it, in addition to all the accusations on credible offenders since 2015, 2004, I should say.
The bishops are waiting till after their November assembly to address this crisis. In your opinion, is that a good idea or is that too late?
I think it's too late for the Catholic lay people. I've talked to so many people and people across the country who are telling their priests, what are we to do? What are we supposed to do? Should we be giving to the church? Should we be giving? Should we be going to church? Should our children be going to Catholic schools? I don't think waiting to inform the Catholics in the United States about what needs to be done by the bishops. We need leadership. We don't have any leadership. It's like, well, now what do? We're waiting for another diocese to be subpoenaed?
Yeah.
And is it going to be mine?
No, it's you see the drip, 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 and this is, I think it rattles the laity, but the bishops also are caught flat-footed on this. They're not attorneys. They don't know how to deal with this stuff, and much of it happened in the past. Their predecessors were the people involved. The question is, and it's been the question you and I have discussed before, what do they know now? How many predators are in the system now, and who knew about it? Those are the people we need out, and I still don't understand, even with the federal involvement, how do you get to that place? How do you figure that out?
Well, it's not that hard, Raymond. If you know who the predators were 40 years ago, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, and a bishop transferred that person to another diocese, that's one of them. That's who's doing it. And even if somebody came in later, that bishop should know his priest's files, and they should know where they were sent to. And and could find out where that priest is today, if it hasn't been posted already.
Well, there's also the question of family lineage here. You know, you trace your family tree. If you've got a bishop like McCarrick, who's a known malefactor, and there are many others we could name, who did he ordain? Who did he move up the chain? Where are they now? I think that someone's got to do that kind of deep investigation, and it seems to me the church has to authorize that. The federal government's not going to be able to do that.
No, but the federal government can get the records, and the records would disclose. For instance, if there was a bishop who has a priest that he knows about, is an offender, and he went to the seminary with him, they're friends. They're not going. He's not going to send them to the lay review board or that priest. So I mean, it's not that hard. That information is not that hard. John Jay did it. They should be able to do it again.
Well, and with the discovery powers of the federal government, even the state government,
yes,
they can do a lot more than lay people.
Civil authorities need to, because that's who we're going to trust. We're not going to trust the bishops doing it again.
Now, you wanted the bishops to authorize an independent lay group to go in and investigate, but you don't look well upon Cardinal Dolan, who appointed his own special investigator. He brought in a former judge, and he said, you go through the records, you look at everything. What's wrong with having a lay person rifling through the files, gaining familiarity, so they become the point of contact with these federal and local investigators?
Well, if they became a point of contact with the federal investigators or civil authorities, that's a different story. Then that person who Dolan might have appointed is not subject to Dolan. That's the position I take. Whoever the bishops or cardinals appoint cannot be beholden to their appointers. It has to be to provide the information to the civil authorities. That's the only way lay people are going to actually start to begin to trust again. We have to start trusting our leadership, and we're not going to be able to do it if whoever they appoint reports to them. It's not going to work.
You recently resigned from the Order of Malta, the esteemed society in the church. Why?
I received a letter that everybody in Malta received in the United States, that the sex abuse crisis is something we shouldn't be talking about. We should be praying for it. I feel that Malta should be standing up and demanding. We're an organization that's international, that should be saying to the Pope, listen, your pontiff, please do something for all of us in the world on the sex crisis. It's ruining our church. It's tearing us apart.
Did the USCCB ever get back to you aside from that letter?
They did, last week. I got a letter from DiNardo that pretty much says thank you. We received a lot of help, offers of help from a lot of lay people around the country. Thank you very much.
That was it?
That's it.
Well, maybe he'll call on you in the days to come. Justice Anne Burke, thank you for being here. Pleasure to see you.